Welcome to the show. My name is Victor De La Casa. Welcome everyone. With me as always, my good friend Matthias Gelbert, the Green Man. Matthias, say hello to everyone.
Hey guys. Hey Victor. Good to see you all. And hey Victor, I gotta tell you one thing that I usually don't bother too much about, but Matthias would be the British pronunciation.
Oh,
Correct German pronunciation is actually slightly different, but walang problema, as we say here in the Philippines. Matthias Gelber.
Matthias.
Matthias.
I'll remember to do that.
Yes.
Matthias.
Good,
Matthias.
Good.
There.
Don't worry. I'm easygoing.
I know.
Guys,
but you know what, Matthias? Like, it's good that you told me that, because sometimes in your other videos I would hear Matthias, and I got so used with the English version, and that is of course like Matthias, you know. But no worries, my friend. Like Matthias. Does that sound
Matthias,
good? Matthias,
the Calbo guy.
No, here we go again.
Calbo is bald. Or in Malaysia, bahasa Melayu, bahasa Indonesia, because I lived in Malaysia for a while. It means botak.
Botak.
Yes.
You know, botak in the Philippines is also is a what do you call that? Like a colloquial word
for what?
For run. Takbo.
Run. Oh,
right.
Wow.
Takbo, and in reverse, botak.
Botak.
Yes.
Takbo. Come here.
Yes. Right. And in fact,
sounds like taco. Give me a vegetarian taco.
Taco.
Eat, man.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
And I remember when I was in college, you know, like the belt bags, right? Belt bags.
Yes.
The big ones. They were so popular back then. But I cannot afford to buy like a Nike or Adidas, and there happened to be a Botak belt bag brand that I found in the local wet market, which I bought, and that's how I discovered that Botak is actually you know, a Kanto word, or Kanto meaning like a you know, common person, common man's word, street word for run, right? So anyways,
something new.
You always learn something new. Yeah.
On that note, you know, interesting you're talking about that. I have noticed here in the Philippines, people are very focused on brands.
Yes.
They're very focused on showing that, you know, they are successful in life by displaying branded goods, buying branded goods.
Indeed, yes.
So the consumer mentality is very strong. I mean, I'm not saying that we do not have that in Germany, where I originally come from. But when I was a kid in school, we were never into brands. People were never flashing brands, and there was no judgment. You know, even if you have cheap shoes from somewhere, nobody bothers non-branded shoes. But I've noticed as well, even in Germany, my brother was commenting, oh yeah, you got to buy the more expensive brands, otherwise your kids will be considered, you know, poor in school or something like that. So it seems that the branding machinery has been so successful that people feel pressured to buy the branded goods rather than the cheap goods, or reuse old stuff or whatever. And when we relate that to sustainability, I guess the obsession with buying the latest, the branded stuff is contributing to a lot of additional wastage out there in society. And we've had that debate. I just read that article today. In Europe, there's a big Greenpeace is trying to tell the governments, you should not allow the clothing brands to destroy the clothes that are sitting on their shelves because consumers have not been coming to the shops. This is a very interesting discussion, right?
Yes.
We have all this material that has not been bought because the consumers have not been in the shopping malls.
Yeah.
And the brands maybe want to destroy it, but should that be allowed in the context of over consumption and waste?
Yes. That is a waste. That is,
huge waste.
Huge waste.
I don't believe in judging people by the clothes they wear, the brands they wear. And I think it's something that has been established in society that's not good for equality.
Yes.
So for me, ethically, that doesn't matter at all. And that's why I feel we had a great spirit in school in Germany, because people were never judged by their clothes, by the way they looked, where they came from. I came from the village that was considered to be, the most backward village in the whole area. And I was the first guy from that village, as far as I remember, that went to that school and successfully finished till the end. It was considered to be the tough school in the area. And my parents initially didn't want to send me there because they were saying, no, we don't need it, blah, 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 blah. But I said, I want. So, but there was never any judgment. I had no branded goods. My parents had no money to buy expensive stuff.
Yeah.
But there was never, ever any moment where I felt that had an impact on who you are and how people judge you. Maybe it had to do with, Germany trying to cut out elitism after the mistakes of Nazi Germany.
Yes.
So, and it's good for environmental behavior, because everything is accepted. You don't need to continuously buy new stuff. And that's how, if you look at my wardrobe, I have hardly ever any branded stuff. I mean, the branded stuff that I have is usually things that people have given to me secondhand or gifts. I don't care. And, humanity should be about who you are as a person, rather than what brands have turned you into, or what you can afford. So but it's interesting observation, right? People have those mental blocks. But then the question is, if you're in a senior position in the company, it's kind of expected for you to blend into that corporate culture. So what do?
Do what the Romans do, right? When in Rome, do what the Romans do. So anyways, my friend, let's get down to business. It's been a year since the coronavirus that we are experiencing right now exploded. I believe it's around this time last year when it was declared as a global pandemic. So,
in January, maybe a little bit later than that.
I believe it's. I believe it's around January, because I went to Europe in February, and it's already a pandemic. What I remember when I was in Europe in February was that it was named to what it is right now, because before it was, named differently, if you know what I mean. Of course, the country that it originated from didn't like that name, so they had to come up with a new convention in terms of naming this virus.
You went in February. I wanted to go in March, but I concluded it's too risky to go.
Yes.
I decided with the family, let's skip it. And I'm not sure whether I would have been able to come back to the Philippines, because exactly on the day when they announced that borders would be locked down, there would be a lockdown, was the day I was supposed to come back to the Philippines. So it might have been chaotic.
Well, even in Europe, I believe that when I left, because I left I believe the 21st or something, around the 20th, I can't remember exactly now, but when I left there, that's when they started locking it down. So I'm basically just lucky that I managed to get out of Europe. And then when I got back here, I did 14 days quarantine, and then when I got back to work, not even a full week, they locked down. So that was it for me, right? That was the last time I've been to the office, until this morning, of course, because I had to do some business over there. But it's been a year since all of that started to happen. Many scientists are suggesting that this virus is probably just the start, and more are probably going to follow. And given the current situation with the new strain that are more aggressive, it's creating a lot of curiosity and panic. So this week, we're just going to discuss what are our thoughts about the current pandemic, and maybe suggestions on how we can improve during these times of crisis. Matthias, what is your observation? What do you think 1 year after?
For me, I see that it has had a gigantic economic impact. On the other hand, maybe the health impact is even more significant.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we had a lot of people passing away, particularly elderly people, and the circumstances, they've often left their families without uh, an ability to properly say
Yeah.
goodbye due to the risk of things spreading further.
Mhm.
That's really been a very, very sad aspect of it. The economic losses have been problematic as well, but at the same time, there is an opportunity for us to stop, sit back, rethink, appreciate what really matters. A lot of people have come to that conclusion that, you know, their family is very, very important, the loved ones, their health. And this collectively is something that I think we can take as opportunities to improve our outlook in the future, and maybe an opportunity to reduce the risk that we are facing in the future. At the end of the day, sometimes we humans need to be getting a reason to rethink how we are doing things. And the way we have been doing things, growth without limit, CO2 emissions and other climate related emissions going into the atmosphere without us really stopping that trend, reversing that trend. Those are all things that we need to look at. Whether there's a direct correlation between climate change and the increased occurrence of these dangerous viruses, it will take maybe some years till we have solid scientific evidence. But there seems to be a connection, particularly with it being, you know, having an impact on biodiversity. We are losing biodiversity. We are increasingly forcing animals into, you know, manufacturing environments where the diversity that they've experienced originally out there in the natural environment is reduced. And that seems to be linked to actually increasing the risk of these viruses spreading from animals to humans, closer contact between, you know, those animals appearing as well on the menu of people. So, you know, there seems to be clear connection here without us maybe having the black and white scientific evidence. But even, you know, in discussions that we have had recently over the last 10, 20 years, whether it's come to climate change, there is often subjectivity involved that people perceive as subjectivity, and getting this black and white, yes, approved by 101 scientists is maybe something we will have to wait for a couple of years.
Yeah, right.
What do you think, Victor?
Well, right now, like I said, there are no empirical data available yet. Either they haven't really made the effort yet, because given the lockdowns, it's really difficult to conduct studies at the moment. But what I'm thinking, though, is it just comes in at a time when we have modern technology, modern medicine, and everything. You would expect that animal born illnesses should be, you know, something that you would be least worried about. And yet it's here at a time when we're also experiencing some problems with the emergencies with our climate. I'm not saying that it is related until we actually have, like what you said, actual scientific evidence on the matter. But we do, and I agree with you that maybe we should also look at our ways as human beings as the major factor that affects the planet, the ecosystems, the biodiversities, and all that. To also consider, you know, the habitats of these animals. Recently, I was looking at an article, and the doctor who discovered is it SARS? I believe Ebola virus. Warned about the possibility of more coronavirus-like diseases coming out of the Congos, for example, because that's where he is based right now. But at the same time, we're seeing strains of similar coronaviruses now in pigs in China, right? So you have to really sit down and look at all these things and think to yourself, there is probably some relation to this. I'm not gonna force it, but then again, yeah, I want people to understand that they also need to look at the ways they their dietary habits. You mentioned the animals that are not supposed to be in the menu getting into the menu, for example, and also how they live their lives in terms of sustainability, in air quality and all that, and trying to deal with the quality of air is one of the things that I feel that will play a vital role. So, in your opinion, Matthias, I know you're a big supporter of this. Air quality, how big is its role when it comes to the spread of deadly diseases?
We know that air quality, the bad air quality, has an impact on people's life expectancy. And if you look at the statistics that have come out from the World Health Organization, I can't remember the latest ones, but the data on people expected to pass away from the results of bad air quality is much higher than the COVID deaths that we have seen.
Yeah.
But maybe people don't relate it directly to it. It's not an immediate thing. Those things like breathing difficulties, asthma. I think there were 2 cases recently. One, a girl that passed away in, I think it was London, on the outskirts of London.
Yeah.
I saw an article that they actually attribute her passing legally to bad air quality. Wow. And there was a case in France from an asylum seeker from Bangladesh that was supposed to be deported back to Bangladesh, but there was a court injunction that prevented him to be deported, because it said that if he would go back to Bangladesh, especially Dhaka, the capital, the air quality there is so bad that his health problems would massively worsen, and it's a risk to his life. So we're starting to see air quality issues, ambient air quality issues, to be taken into consideration when people are actually looking at the proof of what is contributing to people losing their lives. So we need to take this very, very serious. And there are as well studies that have shown that the mortality of people in areas with bad air quality that are affected by the pandemic has been much higher than people living in areas where there is better air quality. And I saw the other day as well, in India, people have started to put ambient air cleaning devices into the outside air. Now, this took me by surprise, because this kind of technology, usually nobody wants to pay for it. I know that because my friends here in the Philippines, very famous paint brand, they came up with a paint called Noxed Out, and it had this technology of improving the air quality. And when I asked them a couple of years ago, my friends from Boyson, this is the most famous brand here in the Philippines, on paint, how is that product doing? They said, yeah, it's kind of difficult to sell because it's more expensive than the normal paint. And kind of, who is going to pay for it? They did some sponsored projects in Metro Manila to put it along the EDSA, the monorail, and the EDSA road, but they were struggling to find commercial buyers for it, because the benefit of it cleaning up the air quality, which they have been able to prove as well, who is going to pay for it? Who makes it so much of an important issue that you're going to pay for it? So indoor air quality is usually easier to get people to put money down to improve it, but outdoor air quality is very critical. It's very essential, but who's going to pay for it?
And that's where sometimes we have a disconnect, because we all know that it's good if you have good indoor air quality, but it would have been even better if you have good outdoor air quality, because whatever air is outside eventually go inside the house, right? When you think about it. So it's kind of difficult, but
I mean,
in
your inside scenario, you have more control over it. yes, you bring in the fresh air from outside
Mm-hmm.
to improve your indoor air quality. And
Circulation.
partially this is correct
Yeah.
because your CO2 levels, carbon dioxide, if it's high, it means a lack of fresh air. When you
Yes.
bring outside air in, it reduces your CO2 level.
Mm-hmm.
And this as well, from a pandemic scenario, your risk of getting infected is much higher if you're in indoor environments with no air circulation. And you can see that on the CO2 level. So this is what you can control. But if you have open burning in the neighborhood or very concentrated vehicles pouring out a lot of carbon particles, then that comes in with the outside air to your inside air.
Yeah.
Sometimes I close the doors and the windows to prevent the outside air from coming in if I can smell or if I can see on my air quality monitor that there is open burning going on, and you get the PM 2.5, the small toxic particles coming in. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's good to rely on indoor air, sometimes it's better to rely on outdoor air. But only if the outdoor air is clean, it can really be of benefit to you in the indoor.
And this is one of the things that I really, really miss living abroad. Because, for example, like in Canada, or even, when I visited Europe, right? It's just different in terms of air quality. I'm not sure if you would agree with me on this, but in Germany, yes. Nuremberg, for example, I went there last year, Amsterdam and Belgium, and I thought it's really different compared to like going or living here in our country, wherein when you open the window, you smell all sorts of stuff. You smell the canal, the infestation coming in and all that. It's really different. I live in a community wherein we're right beside the main road. We have a lot of vehicles coming in, driving by. You get a lot of fumes from the vehicles. At the same time, you have an open sewage just nearby, which smells. The air quality is just not there. And for me,
have you done any real measurements?
No. I don't have any instruments right now. I wish I do, but the situation. That's why I'm really trying to manage everything. But in any case, like in Canada, for example, I don't need air conditioning. I don't need electric fans. All I have to do, open the window, fresh air comes in. Here, it's kind of difficult. It's a different case. I want to open the windows, the doors, everything. And I do that. I do it anyways because I have no choice. But I do know that the quality of air that comes in is not that great. The only benefit from it really is just the comfort of warm air that is stuck inside the house coming out. At least there's some circulation. So
yeah, but the one thing is what are really the facts. Often we talk about perceptions.
Yes.
And this wasn't planned. We didn't really discuss it, but the discussion leads us to it. Yes. I actually have an indoor air quality monitoring device, but I got it outside at the moment, and I just decided to open it up. Maybe it's invisible here, but I can give you the actual data currently, how it is here outside, just in front of my house. Temperature is 26 Celsius. It's cooler now than it normally is because it's been cloudy for a long time. Then we have humidity 84.6. That's very high. That's the problem of letting the outside air in this part of the world. You get extremely high humidity. And that high humidity makes you feel sweaty. So that's the uncomfortable part. Air pressure is normal. CO2 outside is 417. That's exactly the ambient total global concentration that we have roughly now. Mm-hmm. Total VOC is 8 parts per billion. PM 2.5 is only 1 microgram per cubic meter. It's very low. Carbon monoxide is 0. NO2 is 0. Ozone is 3 parts per billion. It's all very healthy outside. Even the PM 2.5. But what I noticed as well here when the severe lockdown happened and everybody had to stay at home,
Yeah.
normally here in this area, we are as well close to the main road. So there is a fine dust, a carbon type dust appearing after a couple of days on the tiles. It was kind of gone for those weeks. This is maybe the carbon black that comes from the jeepneys and the two-stroke tricycles that is being emitted, apparently highly carcinogenic. But, you know, it was gone for a while. It's a little bit back now, maybe not at the level where it was before because traffic is still a little bit reduced. But definitely, again, there are relationships here between mortality, between pollution, but what is good to see at the moment that our air quality outside is actually very, very good. It only changes when people do early in the morning or late at night open burning when it's dark, and it's supposed to be illegal, but it still happens.
Yeah. Well, you know what, like Matthias, one good example I would say is like in Canada. When I was in Nova Scotia, I love snow. Well, not you know, I love the first days of snow, the fluffy snow. But once you hit February, you know, January, February, like it's been lingering for like months now, right? I don't like it anymore. One of the reasons why I don't like it, ask me why.
Why?
Because snow turns black.
Yeah, but that depends where you are, right? I mean, in my village, snow doesn't really turn black unless it's lingering around for days and weeks.
Yes.
Cars drive over it, and
there you go.
Salt gets used. But the real proper snow on the field in an untouched area doesn't turn black.
That's okay. But when I was new in Canada, because like I said, I like snow. When they plow the roads, they create like 12-foot snowbanks, right? They're white. You know, if the sun comes out, the sunlight just reflects off of them. It glistens. I loved it. But after like a couple of weeks, when you have the traffic, right? The emission from the vehicles back in 2001, they turned these snowbanks into black. First brown, and then eventually it really turns into black. And I was asking my friends, why does it turn black? It's supposed to be white. Because they would explain, because you have vehicles, they emit particles and fumes, and that's what they look like when they get touched by these carbon, right?
Yeah.
So
particles,
carbon particles. So basically, it's the same thing and most importantly, like in our part of the world where we have a drier, warmer climate, you have a lot of dust in the air, and at the same time, you have these microparticles, even microplastics that are floating around. And for me, an allergic person, if I'm outside, if I'm in Canada, I'm not allergic. It's here where my allergies are just really getting triggered.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is interesting. That is very interesting because it is a difference of environment. I mean, the high humidity, you can't really change that. That's a given. So you don't think it's linked to the humidity, it's linked to the fine dust and the pollution in the ambient air.
Yeah.
That is your conclusion, is it?
One of my conclusions on the matter, yes.
Yeah. Wow. So coming back to the pandemic and climate change, the relationship and what we can learn, I think it's all connected. There is a big connection between the pollution in the ambient air, the climate change issues on a global scale, the biodiversity, the forests. The more forests disappear, which has been the home of the extreme biodiversity, the carbon sink, the ground for the natural balance, the more we lose as well that ability to recover. And, you know, those forests have kept the water tables, they can absorb the water, they can clean the water, they can help prevent floods in those areas. So the natural environment is providing a lot of ecosystem services that have helped us to prevent some of those risks and costs to society. So maybe we need to come up with more holistic concepts
Yeah.
to look as well at what is the return on investment coming from preventing climate change, coming from preventing deforestation. I was involved in a discussion earlier today. It was all about the Philippines' targets for climate on a global level, the nationally determined contributions under the UN program. And the message was again, oh, we can only afford so much. You know, other than that, we need money from outside to do more. And the message that is usually sent is, oh, it's going to cost us a lot and there is no immediate return. But so many studies have actually shown that for 1% increasing spending in climate prevention will deliver 2 to 10% of return.
Yeah.
But who will get the return? Maybe not the entity or the company that invests.
Yes.
I mean, when we look at energy efficiency, the return goes directly back to the company that takes the initiatives and the programs. And usually you'll be able to get the money from banks or from governments.
Yep.
But a lot of the flood prevention, you know, the cost that will be paid out by insurance companies as well from climate-related disasters, the prevention of that can be initiated by other actors who might not see the direct link between lower insurance premiums in the future if they help to mitigate. So we need some kind of a macro concept to all work together. And it was good to hear at that event that I attended, there is this attempt to create a NGO movement in the Philippines. I think they call it Convergence. They want to bring everyone together to work together on climate neutrality goals for the country. So I think that's a very important step, a good step, but really helping individual actors to see the collective benefit that we will get if we take action now is a more urgent requirement than ever before to accomplish, so that we will actually be able to take action.
We should take part in that collective effort. What is it called again? Convergence?
I think they call it Convergence.
Yeah.
They're trying to create clusters of people working together, academe, NGOs, businesses. Looks like a good initiative.
It sounds like it.
There's a lot going on. Even I saw the other day, and there is a first convening of a sustainability practitioners association or group this Saturday. So they set up a Facebook group of sustainability practitioners. I need to send you the link, Victor, if you haven't seen it yet. And this might be relevant for other listeners as far as they are here from the Philippines. There's some good stuff going on, some good initiatives, and hopefully we can see more of that. And if all of that converges and collaborates together, that should really be of collective benefit.
Another thing that maybe we ought to discuss: population density. As we all know, if this is just going to be the first of many to come, this pandemic that we have right now, population density, I feel, is going to play a very major role in the spread of these deadly diseases. As we've seen in Europe, for example, people converge at the beach, and all the next thing you know, you have a huge case in Italy. A lot of people dying because of these viruses, right? So in our community, we have a lot of people, and I believe also in your part of the world, the population density is, pretty big. Manila, obviously, huge population over there. And when you when you think about climate change as well, you kind of think, what if, because of climate change, we have an extreme weather, we have extreme floods, typhoons, and all that, and then all of these people have to go to an evacuation center at the middle of a pandemic. What do you think? Is that something that we should be, prepared for in the future as a possible risk in the spread of deadly viruses?
Sure. I mean, it's evident that density makes it more difficult to use the social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are two things here that we need to look at.
Mm-hmm.
One is density, which increases the risk of infection, particularly in an indoor environment.
Yeah.
I mean, outdoor is less risky. You were mentioning the beach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm less worried about people being on the beach or people being on the ski slopes, like what we've seen in Europe now during winter.
Yeah.
I think the risk of infection there is very, very low. The super spreader events have been those events where people have met indoor in a very dense way. So density is one issue, and population growth as a whole. Obviously, we have 7 billion humans on the planet. That's a lot. To cater for all of those, especially with raised living standard, means we need to massively decarbonize our food, our products, our mobility, because otherwise the total carbon profile of humanity as a whole will go up rather than down. I was actually at one point in my life considering never to be a father because of the overpopulation we have on the planet. I'm glad I didn't go ahead with it. I love my kids so much.
Of course,
But now I have a responsibility to help my children to see this and to acknowledge it and to hopefully make their life a carbon sink rather than a burden to the total carbon profile. I mean, that's as well what we can do as individuals. We might have talked about that before. One of the businesses that I'm involved in, which is an online mall called the Mega Mall, we just registered under the UNFCCC Go Climate Neutral Now initiative. We actually calculated our carbon footprint. It's a virtual organization at this point in time. Our total carbon footprint was very modest, about 12 tons of carbon. But we bought the carbon credits from an organization in Fiji. I love this because Fiji is one of the countries at risk from climate change. It's a low-lying island. They as well co-convened the COP meeting in Bonn a couple of years ago, which I attended. So we actually decided to buy it from them because one of the operational arms of that entity is in the South Pacific Islands, South Pacific Mega Mall. And it's a lovely story. We take global responsibility. We support an entity in a country that's very much at risk, that generates low carbon electricity and sells carbon credits to help their business even more. It wasn't the cheapest carbon credits, but we are now officially registered, and I have done that as an individual as well, and I do that every year. I have yet to do it for 2020, calculate our family's carbon footprint and then buy carbon credits to compensate for it. But I will do that before the end of the month, and maybe in our next session I will share with you about that. Maybe we can go a little bit more in detail about carbon footprint calculation, Go Climate Neutral Now, what you can do, how you can calculate your carbon footprint, and what is this carbon credits all about. But I will be buying some carbon credits, and I can share that in our next session because I think if we all as individuals can go climate neutral, then we solve the problem globally through collective action.
Oh, now that you mentioned your kids, and you are a wonderful father.
Hopefully.
I think so. I've seen your kids. Beautiful children, by the way.
Thank you.
This whole thing that we're doing, although it's more, I would say, like aimed at businesses. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is we're trying to preserve the planet for our little ones, for the future, our kids. I have two.
Your kids, my kids.
Your kids, my kids. Yep.
Too.
I have two. I have two kids. One is 6 years old. Another one is in high school, a teenager. It's so hard at this age to find jobs. We all know that. It's very competitive now to find work. And at the same time, health-wise, it's the conditions, the environment that we live in is, like I mentioned, microplastics, dust particles, carbon particles. I would love to have my kids I would love to see my kids someday have an opportunity, have a chance to make it through life. Maybe not as successful as other people, but at least, their happiness, right? We want them to live happy, healthy lives down the road, because we
Yeah.
want them to, we want them to enjoy their lives as well. We
Happiness
li-
is success, man.
Yeah.
Happiness is success.
Success,
It might be
exactly.
more empowering, more fulfilling than the financial success that
Success,
I mean,
yeah.
we don't want to say anything negative about financial success. We want to promote,
Yep. Course.
financial prosperity, environmental prosperity, but financial prosperity, it should come with sustainable consumption rather
Yes.
than overconsumption. Sometimes people get carried away. Oh, we made loads of money,
Mhm.
and then immediately they spend it all on overconsumption. I
Yep.
think responsible prosperity, double R, responsible prosperity.
Yes.
Wow, is that a nice slogan?
I think so.
Oh,
I
no,
think that's a good one.
RP. What happened with my spelling? Responsible prosperity. Yeah.
Responsible prosperity. Yeah. I think
Is that a good idea?
I think it's a good idea. So
But yeah, what you said is spot on, man. We need
Yeah.
a bigger reason
yes.
to do this, and it's our kids.
At
We,
the
we live for them. We
Yeah.
fight for them. We have our passion for them. Sometimes when life gets mundane, or you have to do things that like filling in paperwork, which is not things that I like. We need to have a bigger reason why we're all doing this. And for all of our listeners out there, connect emotionally with your children, their future. If you
Yes.
don't even have a scientific or financial or business reason to make your life sustainable, do it for our future generations. Connect with your
Indeed.
children, connect with the little kids in your family. If you don't have children, think about their future, do it for them. That's it, man. That's my final word for today. Do it for them.
Yes, exactly. And in this case, like although we talk about businesses and how we could help them, and how these big companies can become more sustainable. At the end of the day, it's all about all about the future. Money, like once you're gone, you're gone. You're not gonna have any use for it anymore. But the future of our race, of our planet, is at stake here, and I think that is uh meaningful, a meaningful battle to fight for, I would say. And on that note, Matthias, are you ready? We end the show, and guys, like if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Thank you for watching us, Matthias. Any final words for the folks?
Do it for them. Do it for your children.
There you go. Do it for the future. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you again next week. We don't have any topics yet in mind, but we will definitely have a show next week, and then give you more interesting discussions on sustainability. Thank you so much. You have a great day. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Bye-bye. Cheers.
Underneath the rows of trees, I will see you where the ocean meets the sky. Under your toes, the fire grows. You are ready for a different kind of life. Just shining forward, the wind is cold. You must return to the wild. Just shining forward, the wind is cold. You must return to the wild. Follow me down.